let's talk more about the insurance crisis that Louisiana is facing. But this time, instead of just talking about the bleak, outcome or the bleak reality of our situation, let's talk about some solutions. So if you watched part one of this video, I shared about the insurance crisis. And my hope is that if you heard anything from that, is that basically we didn't get there overnight. We're not getting out of it overnight. And that if this continues, the longer it continues, the more collateral damage we will see, the people being hurt by it. And I want you, whoever you are that's listening to this, I want you to be informed so that you could potentially help yourself be less hurt by this. So let's jump into some solutions here. But before I do, if any legislator is watching this, I know that I've interacted with a lot of you over the years. Please understand, I implore you to consider as legislators who impact policies and impact a lot that's going on in our region. Southeast Louisiana and South Louisiana specifically is truly, truly being impacted by this insurance crisis. And look, obviously, this has been happening for years. It is not a new conversation, but I don't want it to basically go fade into the background. Please, each time you consider raising taxes, each time you consider limiting property right restrictions, for example, with like people being able to maybe earn some extra income with their properties, things like that. Whatever the policy may be, the ordinance may be, the legislation may be, please keep this insurance crisis in mind because it's truly, there's so much that's happening. Obviously we every 4 years we have property taxes go up. So we just recently had that. All of these things are another nail in the coffin for the property owners in South Louisiana. And my hope and my prayer is that we can keep everyone in mind because this collective suffering is impacting all of us. And especially there's some who are hurting a lot more than others. And we've got to find some level of reprieve. Now, let's jump into some solutions. I hate that my last video was all about the bleak, the nasty, the reality of the situation. I consider myself a solutions-based person. So let's go ahead and I'm going to say this. If you are a property owner being impacted by the insurance crisis in Louisiana, it can be a property that you live in. It could be a second home. It can be an inherited property. It could be an investment, whatever it may be. You can call or email. Please, I'm asking you to call or email your elected officials. So at the federal level, things like your senators and representatives, right? At the state level, you can reach out to the governor as well as the Louisiana Insurance Commissioner. And then locally, you've got things like mayors, parish presidents, you've got parish and city councils members. Please call, email them. And when you do so, introduce yourself and start a conversation about how insurance is impacting you. Maybe it's how you had to choose to become self-insured and you're afraid of that risk is causing you, your family, your neighbors, all of that. Or how give specific examples of how your insurance has gone up. Or maybe if you're forced to sell because of insurance, share those. Those real life stories, I promise you, really do help. If you're like, Courtney, I don't know who my elected officials are. If you go to usa.gov, look for the US and its government section, click on it, and you can actually type in your address and find your elected officials based on your address. And this works if you're a tenant or an owner. It could also be if you have a rental property or an inherited property, you can type in that address and you can reach out to the elected officials in based on that location. Look, please contact them. This is one of those things where you can't just say, well, someone else will. Please do not wait for other people to do what you could do. So that's the first thing I'm going to ask you to do is please reach out to your local, state, and federally elected officials. The second thing I'm going to encourage you to do is assess your current policy. Take a look at your policy. I believe real estate ownership is a team sport. And an important part of your team should be your insurance provider, the person who, your insurance, whether it's an insurance broker, whoever it is, that person should be able to explain to you your policy. And this is a huge thing because a lot of people have told me, Courtney, I haven't talked to my insurance agent in years. If your insurance agent is not willing to get on the phone with you and explain things to you, please consider finding a new insurance agent. Truly, I mean it. Some people become very loyal when it comes to insurance, but if you're not getting good service from that business, take your business somewhere else. It's a weird thing. Loyalty with insurance is really weird. People are like, oh, I've been with this one insurer for 20 years. I'm like, look, I know you think it may hurt you if you move to a different insurer, but right now, I promise you, many people are having to move. So that's not a thing. Know your options. Um, this is also something a lot of people don't know. There's a few different models in the insurance world. There are the insurance models where basically, like the state farms and such, they will quote you based on what in-house they can basically, what their quote is in-house. So you're limited to just one quote. Okay. But then there's what's called insurance brokers. These are the ones who have a lot of different carriers. And then when they write when they get a quote, it's all those different carriers will either raise their hand and say, yeah, we'll make a quote on it, or no, we won't. Right. And so you may get 4 different quotes back and be able to talk through with your insurance agent the benefits, the pros and cons to each of them. So if you don't understand that those models exist, if you're basically out there shopping your quote, then know that you want to shop between different ones. Don't go shop with 4 State Farm insurance people, okay? Shop with different types of business models. All right. Also, when you're assessing your current policy, look at your deductibles. Look, I know that in the event of a storm, we want our deductibles to be as low as possible. But right now, you've got to pick and choose. You may have to say, I've got to take the heightened risk that I'm going to have a higher deductible just so I can afford this, right? So you need to talk through with your insurance agents, um, making that decision. And it's one you need to make personally. Things like actual cash value and replacement costs. There's some other things that your insurance agent should be informing you of what you could potentially do to bring your policy down, but you need to learn basically what's the trade-off. If my policy is coming down, what am I trading off? Maybe it is that higher deductible. Maybe I'm getting less coverage or something like that. So keep that in mind. All right. So the third thing I'm going to ask you to do, I'm going to suggest that you do, is that you should consider getting a fortified roof. Yes, this is more expensive than a normal roof, but what is important to understand is that I mentioned how our building code has recently been improved. Our area needs to continue to improve their building codes, and yes, they're working on that. But understand, the more like storm hardy your property is, the better that insurance carriers will look at it and say that is less of a risk. There is a lot of data based out of Baldwin County, Alabama, so down in the Gulf Shores area, where they instituted the fortified roofing program. So it even to a point where it's not just roofs, also can be windows and doors and stuff like that. And when hurricanes hit that area, there was such a high percentage of success of those fortified roofs staying in place, that there's such good data on that again, it's a really good thing for our area. Our area needs to grow in that direction. And so understand that that is the path forward. Okay. I understand it's more expensive. So there are grant programs with the state of Louisiana. I just looked it up right before I'm filming this video in February of 2025. If you go to LDI, which stands for Louisiana Department of Insurance, so ldi.la.gov/fortify homes. If you need to pause this or go back and write ldi.la.gov/fortify homes, there's up to a $10,000 grant for it. Now, it is a lottery system. It has to be on your primary residence, not an investment. There are some restrictions, like it can't be on a condo or a mobile home or new construction. And there's also limit availability. Currently, there is no more grant money, but they are going to be opening it back up. So maybe you say, hey, Courtney, I am struggling to have that money myself. So you need to do your due diligence, and you to say, hey, as soon as that becomes available, you then sign up. And I know they were doing good, like getting the word out there. A lot of us shared about it socially or on the radio and things like that. Yes, again, guys, it is costly, but our region needs it. Once it's installed, you then need to go back to your insurance agent, let them know, and that's where that's where you can see the decrease in your policy. That is something that's really, really, really important. All right, fourth thing I'm going to suggest that you do is something called a wind mitigation survey. This is especially important if you have an established roof. So some of you guys know I'm on the WWL's Home Improvement Show, where each weekend, and I've been on this for about the last 5 or so years with Paul LaGrange, who's a building science expert, and we get live calls every weekend. Paul answers all the home improvement ones. I answer all the real estate related ones. And frequently we get folks who call, they say, hey, my roof's 3 years old. Should I tear it off and put a fortified roof? Guys, no, you should not. You have a lot more life left in that roof. By the way, I hope your insurance agent knows that your roof is 3 years old, because hopefully that can help. Even though it's not fortified, hopefully that can help your policy premium. But there is something called a wind mitigation survey. It costs a few $100, but you may be eligible for state tax deduction, by the way. But more importantly, an insurance premium discount. You may be eligible for that. And so the first thing I'm going to tell you to do is go talk to your insurance agent. Again, that is critical. Go talk to them. Say, hey, should I consider, this is my roof situation. Here's, my policy situation. Should I consider a wind mitigation survey? And they can advise you on the next step and who to contact and things like that, because there's specific people who are designated to do these surveys. And then once completed, you can see if you're eligible for either the discounts or incentives. Again, it's a few $100, but you shouldn't just go do it without talking to your insurance person first. All right, fifth thing, final solution I'm going to suggest to you, and this is the most important, is that you need to be an advocate for yourself. And by being an advocate for yourself, what I'm saying is no one's coming to save you. You have to fight for you. You have got to be your biggest advocate, period. And so, how do you do that? You inform yourself. This is one way you're informing yourself. So, kudos to you, truly. Learn your different options. Take the things I said and go research them further, right? And then you've got to take action, because, look, if it's up here and it's stuck up here, it doesn't do you any good. You got to take action. And by up here, I mean your head. You got to take action. So you've got to shop around. You got to shop your policy around diligently. Like I said, there's the different business models. Make sure you're shopping smartly, right? And then look at ways to, and I mean this in a positive way, manipulate your policy. What are some things you can do to lower your premium? And you got to do your best to survive during this difficult time. I know people who have said, you know what, we've canceled, we've gone back to our budget, and we've cut back on some things so we can survive, right? And guys, I know that that's not easy. A lot of people in this economy and in this insurance crisis are making hard decisions, but please, you've got to advocate for yourself. A lot of people are being forced to move, being forced to leave their forever home, being forced, they're losing their homes, right? Losing businesses, losing investments, right? Or having to, their hand being forced because of this. Guys, please, I just gave you 5 potential solutions. Please take action. Please inform yourself. Please learn of your options. And please help your neighbors. I didn't say that part earlier, but please help your neighbors as well, your family members, your friends. Guys, we as a community in South Louisiana have been struggling for a while. I do not see immediate relief in sight, but there are some little things that you can be doing, and some of these are large things that you can do to potentially help yourself. So do your best. Go study some of these things even further. My name is Courtney Fricky. I truly aim to help, especially when it comes to the real estate problems in our community. My heart and my hope is to be a helper. And so reach out if you go to CourtneyFricky.com. If you see the little envelope at the top, that is my email. Feel free to reach out to me. If you say, Courtney, my insurance person isn't cutting it, can you please send me a referral? This is where I'm based out of. If I can help, I will. Guys, at the end of the day, thank you for watching this. If you have not already, go watch part 1 of the Louisiana Insurance Crisis Explained. This video is all about the solutions, but if you don't fully understand the crisis part, go listen to part 1. Thank you so much for listening. Appreciate you guys.